Thank you, Giovanni. Thank you for that. Hi, AWE. It's exciting to join you on stage this year. As mentioned, my name's Molly. I've been with the AWE organization for the past 4 years, producing conferences here in Santa Clara, in Munich, and in Tel Aviv. Last year, I joined the organization as a full-time member, as the community manager to manage the growth and logistics of our AWE Nites meetup series. AWE Nites are meetups currently based in 10 communities around the world. We have chapters in San Francisco, Los Angeles, Phoenix, Chicago, New York, Toronto, Vancouver, Tokyo, Berlin, and Tel Aviv. Today we will have the opportunity to hear what's going on in augmented reality in these communities from our local organizers. The AWE Nite series was founded to aid in our moonshot goal to inspire 1 billion active users of augmented reality by the year 2020. This goal comes from the nonprofit organization behind the AWE conference series, augmentedreality.org. So by providing a safe environment for developers, creators, investors, founders, and curious individuals to come together to explore and advance the AR ecosystem in their local community, we believe the AWE Nites meetups will play a pivotal role in reaching our moonshot goal by 2020. I would now like to individually introduce our brilliant organizers to talk about their local community before getting into our discussion. We'll end the session with Q&A, so please save your questions for the end. Okay, and let's start with Shota, who traveled the furthest to be with us here today from AWE Nite Tokyo.
Hi, so is it on?
Yeah, should be on.
I don't think so. Okay, well, so hi, I'm Shota. I'm organizing the, thank you. So I'm Shota from Tokyo. Basically, the AWE Nite Tokyo is just started recently. So we're gonna have our first event in this June about this AWE USA 2019. So that's really what we are right now. So we are just like a startup itself. We just started. So we really focusing on growing as a community itself and then make more members to be joined and then be like more energetic to be active. And so the things is our member mainly is the developers and the creators. So individuals who really have a curious about their ARs and VRs have joined to our community, and most of them are like mainly making some the apps or the services demos by themselves. So basically, really many peoples are joining to like our community. I'm very glad about that. And then for the first event of ours, like we already got more than hundreds of applicants. So I would say like Tokyo is very excited to be part of the AWE Nite. So for the end of my introduction, let me share some of the companies actually working well in the AR field. So one is a Meshicon. They are the AR creative studio, and they also got the 2 nominates for this year's AWE Award. Actually, they didn't get the award itself, but it is really honored to be the finalist from the Tokyo section. So other company is called Andro. They are the entertainment company using the AR with geometry location information. So basically the concept is to hijack the whole one city with the AR, and then people will go around the city and then experience each different AR demos and games. So there is lots of the company, not only the enterprise, but also the consumer itself in Tokyo. So, oh, by the way, my company itself, Graffity, is also the mobile AR company, and we are making the multiplayer mobile AR shooting game right now. So I would say it's really similar to the Niantic's Project Neon, but I would say it's more easier to play and then wherever you can play. So it will be really new experience. Is it out now? Yeah, it is, but only in Japan yet. Yeah, the thing is, the people from Apple keep telling us to make it global as fast as they can. Yeah, so we are working on it. Yeah. So thank you. And next will be...
All right, thanks, Shota.
Yep.
Next, we'll have Dave Lorenzini, who runs the meetup in my hometown of Phoenix with On Nite Phoenix.
Yeah, hi everybody. I'm Dave Lorenzini, and it's an honor to help connect the developers with the communities and the customers and the people looking to implement this kind of technology for their business. And that's really the biggest thing that we're seeing is this is not a fully baked industry or technology stack yet, and it's hard for these people to figure out which remote assistants or what kinds of resources and assets and other things they can use to build their projects, and how to connect with the customers to make it really useful. So Phoenix is kind of an interesting mix of travel and tourism and medical and financial and some other stuff, some real estate. And so there's some really interesting hotel and other kinds of applications that are being developed. But in general, the ability for AWE to have focal points around the world once a year, and then connect these monthly meetings and really do a service to the community of developers, clients, and partners and other stuff, it's really an effective thing, and it's working. And if you've already got groups and stuff in other cities, we converted a 1,000-person virtual reality group, which was on the decline until Quest maybe, but and kind of changed it into the On Nite Phoenix, where the focus is more on AR and VR, which just breaks down to, are you looking at stuff in front of you, or are you looking stuff remotely? That's VR. AR is in front of you. So really, we're building reality with a digital layer, and getting these local communities, education, everything else. There's great education plays, and getting these people together and giving them the resources, either connecting with all of the investors and other things that the augmentedreality.org knows, and other things. It's a great way to get involved and get some stuff done and meet some great people, really great people. So, thank you.
Okay, great, thanks. Next, we have Ron Padzensky, who's served as in the analyst role also for augmentedreality.org for the last 5 years, and runs our On Nite Chicago meetup.
Thank you, Molly. Welcome, everybody. Who's been to Chicago before? Great town, right? Great place to visit.
Great AR.
What's that?
Great AR.
I joined the meetup. So it started out as a meetup, actually, and Patrick O'Shaughnessy was running it maybe 6 years ago. Patrick is very talented.
Patchedreality.com.
I was gonna throw that in a little bit later, but thank you for that. So, yeah, I showed up for a meetup, and there were like 6 people, and Patrick was running it, and he was presenting some stuff, and it was just, real, this was 6 years ago, so what was the state of AR back then? It was very simplistic, and there were, some interested people, and it was just not a real vibrant, dynamic group at that point, and afterwards, I'm like, Patrick, I want to help you build this community here in Chicago, because we've got great talent. There's a lot of interest. We just need to catalyze that. So I started working with him to build what was then a monthly meetup. And we slowly built our attendance up. First, it was 10 people showed up every month, and it was 12 people, and it was 14, and then up into the 20s. And then when AWE Nite debuted, we recognized as an opportunity to help us rebrand our meetup and add a new dimension to perhaps the quality of presentation that we can offer by having that brand behind us. So so we joined forces. We moved from a monthly format to a quarterly format, because that allowed us to spend more time putting together cohesive programs, bringing in strong speakers. Our last meetup was in April, and we had Magic Leap come in and do a full night of presentations, and they came to town to see, the Chicago community. So what we've been able to do there is really do a great job of bringing people together. So we have developers, we have creatives, we have executives. We don't see a lot of VCs come to visit, but occasionally they pop in and make themselves known. But what we really have a lot of is people just kind of circling the space and trying to find their path into AR because they recognize how powerful it is and how important it's going to be. And so we draw a tremendous number of just, some of them are just curious about the technology, others are just trying to find their way in. And we are all about building the community, and we welcome these people, and we see a lot of new faces every time, and we see a lot of repeat customers. And so the industry in Chicago is pretty big, and it's pretty fragmented. So we want to reach out to, there's a lot of agency work being done in Chicago, so we try to get those people involved. Then there's some really good successful stories that have come out of this. So in fact, today I ran into the CEO of Induvo, which is a AR/VR training company, and he was beaming about how successful they're just taking off right now, and in Chicago. And so it proves that success can be found there, and that's really exciting. Now, my partner, Patrick O'Shaughnessy, patchedreality.com, he's a very strong developer, AR developer, and I was talking to the CEO of Induvo one day, and he was saying, yeah, I need somebody to help me out with this and that, and I'm like, meet Patrick, put them together, and now they've collaborated together and done some work together. So it was a success story that's come out of our AWE Nites meetup, and yeah.
Also the best pizza of any night local thing, so that's
consistently.
Good.
Right. Thanks, Ron. All right, next we have Patrick Johnson, who founded Rock, Paper, Reality, and he's my co-organizer here in the Bay of Night SF. Thanks, Patrick.
Hi. So my voice is like kind of going in and out, so I'm going to try my best for it not to break. And also with Tom, I think Tom and Ori kind of built the AWE Nite SF up, and I kind of came in quite a bit later. But yeah, we have a great, well, a little bit just about me. Got my start at ODG and was there for 6 years. We kind of my company Rock Paper Reality kind of was a spin out from ODG, and so a lot of the talent over there came over, and now we focus on content. So we do 3D content creation, AR app experiences, but it's all AR for hire for the most part, in consulting. And we probably won't have any more time, but we're featured in Lenovo's booth this year as well on their new Think Reality headset. But yeah, so the SF Nite, it's a big one. We've got, I think, 4,200 members in the group. We usually will do a pretty good job of packing the house. So some of our key partners in there is Microsoft, Unity, and 60AI, and they always host us. And I think we usually will hold anywhere between Molly, 175 to 225 people. So there's a really good turnout to these shows, and which is one of the reasons we're going to start charging for them. But yeah, a lot of people sign up, and I think that is one of the things, is trying to make sure that all those people that sign up actually come in and fill the spots, because a lot of times they'll sell out. But it's a great community. We got a lot of people that come all the way up from the South Bay, from Google and Apple, just to kind of see it. We have VCs that like to see the latest and greatest, and presenters will actually fly in just to present at the show. So it's got a lot of attention, and I think it's a good platform for people to get the word out for what they're doing, raising money, and making networking and making business. And so yeah, I think I'll stop there before my voice is totally gone. But that's kind of the AWE Nite SF in a nutshell.
Right, Thanks, Patrick. All right, next we have Suzan, who has really taught me how to be fearless in these last few months that we've known each other, of AWE Nite LA.
Hi, I'm Suzan. It's great to be here. It's really great to be a part of this organization. One thing I just want to say is that I volunteer and give my time to a lot of different communities. I think it's a great way to get involved in a technology or a particular space, so I highly recommend that. I know sometimes it can seem like a lot of work, but the payoff is really worth it. And I am saying this especially because of all of the organizations I've ever worked with, AWE has been the most generous and the most thoughtful in also wanting to give back to the volunteers. And so I really respect the organization for that reason, and really honored to be here. So I represent LA, and I think after hearing you speak, LA's got a lot of work to do because we could do better. We also have a very vibrant community, and we have a lot of creators in LA. LA is a very creative community, and so we have, like sound designers and like fine artists, people doing, art with the technology. That was one of our events, was artists doing, using AR. And so I think, entertainment and art and creative is something that we're very strong in, obviously because we're in Hollywood. But also there's other industries that are really strong in Los Angeles too, like the space industry. I don't know if people know this, but there's JPL, NASA JPL is there. We have Raytheon, we have Virgin, I think Orbit, I'm not sure if we have Virgin Galactic, Northrop Grumman, Boeing, and I'm sure I'm leaving some out.
SpaceX is there.
Oh, SpaceX, of course, right. And there's some other ones too that I'm missing, but you get the idea. It's a very vibrant space community, and I know that so at least several of those companies are doing a lot of work with AR and VR, and so it's very exciting. We have a lot of automobile industry in Los Angeles, and to be honest, I don't know how much of them are actually using AR and VR technology, but I suspect because there's so many car manufacturers and headquarters there that that's something I've been wanting to look into. So our meetups mostly are the creator community, the developers and the creators, and I think we're trying to get more of the enterprise to come in because we know it's there, and I think that's what's going to be I know that my partner Ray is also very interested in that as well. But the other thing that we do in Los Angeles is that we like to highlight Los Angeles in terms of we go to different locations so that different spaces get promoted, and we try and get different sponsors, typically local. We did have Magic Leap come in last week. Yeah, it was actually last week. And they did a highlight similar to, I guess, what you did in Chicago. But at that time, we also highlighted, we had artists come in that had developed for the Magic Leap, and they demoed their products. So we really try and make it about Los Angeles. And I think that's everything I wanted to say.
All right, thanks, Suzan.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have Carl, who has quickly grown his local community of AWE Nite Berlin.
All right, thank you. So yeah, I'm very glad to be here. I'm Carl White, and so I represent Berlin. Yeah, you told it already. So I just give a quick background. So I grew up in a household where we had lots of computers all the time, and my father worked at CERN, so we were one of the first to have internet. And we had people lining up to check out internet, and there was just 10 minutes waiting to see like a word kind of ugly page. And at that time, there were only 10 web pages in the world. So it's just saying, that's my reason to be very excited about VR, AR, because I think, the same thing is going to happen. And I've seen all the business cycles, of internet in Europe. I follow what was happening in US, but I can see the same thing happening. You know, the hype, the thing falling and so on. But what I learned, because I used to live in the Bay Area for a while, when around DK1, Oculus DK1, and I learned about meetups, and I thought, wow, okay, this is something new, it's something very important, and I realized that if you want to be in startup, and that's what internet is about, you have to have a community, So this is where I just thought, okay, that's it. I want to build communities now around whatever is cool and tech related and what can make money, of course. And I started running the VR developers meetup here in San Francisco. We were the third meetup after SVVR and SFVR, and from then, I thought that's cool. All right, and now I'm in Berlin, and I co-organize a VR meetup there, and we have become one of the biggest VR-related meetup in Europe. And now I took the opportunity last year when I came to AWE. I realized, wow, AR is happening now. It's clear. So I talked to Tom, and then we said, okay, I had the idea to start something AR in Berlin, and we were like, okay, let's do it. And just to give a little information about the community in Berlin is very interesting, because Berlin is I would say it's an artistic city, because it was very affordable. It was, because it's changing very quickly. It was very affordable, so a lot of artists were based there, and then it has become a startup place because technology comes in, and so we have a lot of very unexpected AR experiences, very creative. So I just remember this. It was like that was even before I started the AWE in Berlin. That there was someone who made an app. I think now it's popular, but to make like crazy hair and stuff like that. And I thought, wow, this is so cool and so unexpected, And so basically, Berlin has a lot of two different things: artistic projects and creative and artistic projects. And the other side is industrial stuff, and that's Germany in general. So we have a lot of industry AR, and I think this is two things that really push the AR industry in Europe in general. I'm pretty impressed by how many projects I found out, totally, because I'm new to the AR community, or I'm building it in Germany, in Berlin, and I find out that there's a lot of companies that do small AR projects, and eventually some of those projects become well known through media, and that's a cool thing about Berlin.
All right, thanks,
thank
Carl.
you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, last but not least, we have Emily Smith, who is one of the organizers for our largest meetup community of AWE Nite Toronto.
Hello, I'm Emily. Just to start with a bit of personal background, I got into AR when in my former startup, we were organizing an alternate reality game. And one of my co-founders was playing with some AR and said, what if we could add a layer? What if we could add something to the story? And so out of that, we ended up with a little app that did city and neighborhood tours. And kind of never looked back from there. In Toronto, we are 4 co-organizers. It's a pretty dynamic community, actually. We have a ton of members, and we do something every month, and 1 month is a networking night, 1 month is a public night. So at the networking nights, it's just our chance to get together and say, this is working well, we love this, or can you believe this is going on? And then the public nights are when we invite the wider public in to try some demos and listen to a presentation or two and really begin to understand not only that AR is cool, but what it can actually be used for. It's really a mix of people. Although everyone's always on the lookout for more developers, that's for sure. If I shout out a couple of companies. One of my favorites is called On Foot. They've just launched a bunch of historical tours in Toronto like 2 weeks ago. We've got Patio Interactive, which is a cannabis education app. And then my co-founders are awesome, which makes me feel really privileged to be there. They do gesture recognition. Isaac's working on an international tour for projection mapping. And then Ian's company is really well known for an exhibit at the art gallery, which really reinterpreted some old art in a really fantastic way.
Okay, thanks, Emily. Okay, so now I'm going to take some time to ask you guys a few questions. All right, okay. So I know we already, or a few of you touched on this already, but I was wondering what your thoughts are on what role do meetups play in the overall success of AR? Does anyone want to go first?
I mean, I've got this in my hand, so I don't mind.
Go ahead, yeah.
All right. I think when we think about it, we kind of see three things that we're trying to achieve. For the wider public, like education and a chance for people to try things. And then for the people who are creating AR, a chance to just get together with people who get it. It's like coming here, only much smaller, right? And then the third thing is maybe, as much as we can, introduce the creators to the potential clients. And that's kind of how we look at it.
Yeah, it also connects the unique things about each city. Like in LA, you've got amazing creative folks that can be connected to an audience in San Francisco on the technical side, or in New York with the advertising and financial stuff. It's just it takes the best of each city on a more frequent basis, and it helps develop each one of those unique things. There's a mixed reality movie production thing from these guys, Mastertude in LA, that needed some help from certain people, and they're making a film called Polymath, and we connected them to the developers to do that, or something. There's all sorts of great celebrations of each one. And then I just wanted to shout out Tom Emmerich, and who's not on stage, but is a driving force behind AWE and bringing together all of these local meetups, and Ori making it happen for the 10th annual law. And it's the support of having the parent organization to take the best of what's happening in the local things and put it all together. There's nobody doing this, and it's really good. And Molly's crazy good.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Okay, next question, or does anyone else want to jump in on what?
I would just say also another thing with community is really, because, you work on something that is totally new, and you don't really know where you're going. You don't know, am I right? Am I wrong? What and having a community just helps you to be grounded and to know, I'm doing the right thing. Other people are doing the same, so let's continue. And and being able to share also and communicate when you're stuck somewhere, you can get a lot of help with the community.
Absolutely, and the other thing too is that I forgot to mention, Magic Leap came out last week to help us promote our local creators, but what they're also doing is they have a big push to get their headsets into the hands of creators. And so I got a call this week asking, hey, we had some time open up in 2 weeks. Can you put together a 2-day workshop? Can you get a location and help us put together this workshop? And so Magic Leap is coming into the communities and at no charge to the community at all, giving people training, and then they're going to be leaving headsets behind for my partner Ray and I to give access to the community so that we can all share it. And so that shows that these communities are extremely important and really places for the technology to, assimilate out into more and more people. We're going to be bringing in college students and things that wouldn't otherwise probably have an opportunity to get their hands on that kind of equipment.
And I think for us in Chicago, it's two-way, like to bring in companies like Magic Leap, and we're working on bringing Microsoft in, and we want to continue with that. We not only do we want to expose our community to their technologies and so forth, But we also want to expose our community to these companies to let them know that, hey, there's a lot going on here. Pay attention to Chicago. That we've got a lot of talent, we've got a lot of ambition, and so forth. So I think it works both ways to bring in these technology companies and give them the airtime they need to reach the community.
And given that AR is a see it to believe it kind of industry, you have to have these headsets on your head to get it. You can talk about it all you want, but connecting with these people and just having that equipment available, that's just a huge motivator and an inspiration to these developers to do what's going to be the future of the whole internet. So it's a great way to get down to that level.
Also, like in perspective, connecting the people, like in Japan, as I mentioned before, like there's individual developers who usually works not for the AR industry, but working for some other internet company, but they doing for the hobbies by itself. So I'm thinking is the AWE community or this kind of the opportunity will give you to jump into the AR industry, like connecting to the startup itself or some companies who's working on the XL. So that's also one pretty much good point of the community being formed. Yeah.
Okay. So you all have a unique local perspective of being on the ground with your community. How would you describe the current state of the AR market?
So, okay, so I'm having the mic, so keep talking. So in Japan, let's say, especially in Tokyo, it's a really high density city itself. So like peoples are like really moving around the city in Tokyo itself in the holidays. So it is pretty much becoming usual to see the localized AR contents, which especially held in some sort of like shopping malls or the supermarket. So let's say in Japan, it's more likely to the users to touch to the like AR experience more in the end contents as end contents. So basically, for my perspective, right now AR market is more for the enterprise solutions, but I would say in Tokyo the peoples are more like, I mean the consumers are more like touching to the AR experience itself. Yeah, that's the unique perspective of Tokyo, I think. Yeah.
And the bigger environment of persistent location-based AR that comes after things like the face filters and other kinds of things. AugmentedReality.org is also supporting OpenARCloud.org, which is a group of people coming together to build the infrastructure to lay all this stuff into the thing. And the meetups bring together a really wide, diverse range of people who go from maybe AI or ML to IoT to other things, and they bring them all together around this passion of changing things, and it really comes together in a weird way that actually works. So it's just great to get everybody together.
Anyone else?
Yeah, so in Los Angeles, I also didn't mention there's a very vibrant startup community around this technology in Los Angeles, and I don't know if you guys have heard of Silicon Beach, but the West Side in LA is starting to compete with Silicon Valley, and it's called Coin Silicon Beach because there's a lot of startups happening there, and I know that there's also a lot of location-based entertainment happening there. We have 2-Bit Circus, which is not an amusement park, but where you go and play games. What's it called?
The next generation amusement park.
Yeah.
Not amusement park, but
Attractions, just experiential experiences. You don't have to put glasses on. You just go stand in a ring of fire with fans whirling around you, or play real-world video games and really fun stuff. Yeah.
An arcade.
it's an immersive arcade, and they have like a hologate, and they have all of the AR games are really fun because they're very physical, and so like your whole body gets involved, and it's really a lot of fun. So we have that going on, and I know, I can't remember the name of the company, but they're doing the airport, VR experiences. Does anybody know? I can't think of the name of the company.
It's in the JFK, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember the name, but they have this, so that's coming out of Los Angeles. And I also forgot to mention that Snap is in LA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is the 200 million kids who is the prime audience when AR shifts out to consumers. They're going to get it first. So it's a great motivator.
All right, so last question for you guys. What challenges is your community facing for AR to succeed both locally and beyond? And Ron, I'm going to start with you because I know you mentioned that your challenge is being in a flyover state.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So, people often refer to the Midwest as the flyover states, and we get no respect, I tell you, no respect.
Good people.
We're not New York, we're not San Fran, and we're not even LA. But there's, there is a lot of talent, and, I think part of it starts with the university system. University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign has one of the strongest comp sci programs, and University of Chicago, Northwestern. There's a lot of talent that's coming out of the programs in these schools, and unfortunately, a lot of these people leave for the coast to go pursue their dreams. And just as a healthy thing for the Chicago community, these people need to know that there's work for them in Chicago and that there's things they can be doing to build a career there. And so, I see that as part of our mission to kind of justify Chicago as a place where people can thrive in their pursuit of AR and VR work.
All right. Emily, do you want to tell me more about visibility and understanding being a challenge for your community?
I think just generally speaking, more people being able to come and try. A lot we're starting to get at our meetups, not individuals as well as big groups. Like we're starting to get requests each time from schools wanting to send a class. And I think it's probably linked to what you're saying, Ron. It's trying to make the students understand that there are jobs in Toronto, because I would say similar. People leave Toronto for the same coast. Yep. But we're getting researchers, we're getting marketers, and groups of people come. So it's a positive sign.
Okay. Does anyone else want to tell us what challenges their community is facing for AR to succeed?
It's kind of the same thing across a lot of wherever you are. It's getting the developers and finding talent, which you can use schools and other kinds of resources to surface people who are learning and need a break. You need investment to grow a company and to sustain your initial growth once you've proven that you have some great stuff. And there's amazing things come out of these little 1- and 2-man shops that scale to 10 to 15, and then they need the money to get to their full potential and reach a market. So developers, investment, and what else? Partners and other connectors, and that's what happens, not only on a local basis, but coming to AWE and seeing the wider community that really helps get you off to the races.
One of the things that I think Molly, Tom, and I like to try to focus on as well is just diversity, and it's diversity of people, diversity of ideas, and I think it's all a passion project for us, so it's often easy just to kind of pick the familiar faces and the same people to come up and talk on stage. But I think it's really important to make sure that the lineup is diverse, and it's not just, white guys from tech that are up there talking. It's everybody. And I think that's a key thing, is making this a community and a stage for everyone to talk and get their, opinions voiced, and opportunities for new founders to be able to share their ideas. So I think, for us, a big challenge and something we are really trying to advocate is just create better, diverse environments.
I'm glad. I'm going to go I'm going to say, bounce off of what he just said because I think it's really important. As someone who puts together events, it sometimes can be challenging to create a diverse panel because the people aren't there. And so one of the things I'm really excited about with Magic Leap coming out is I've already reached out to some people that work with underserved communities to bring them in to the Magic Leap because we need to get people trained and, you know, yeah. So we have to start diversity at a much lower level and raise the community up.
Yeah, I was going to bounce off that too. It's often, it's a challenge for us to have the time to do those reach outs also, and because I think ideally speaking, we'd love to have the gigantic network that we could just reach out to, and we have some people, and it just takes time to reach out to everyone, and we all have big dreams because we're very passionate about this. Yeah.
Just want to add the European perspective here in Berlin. It's very interesting. Because for us, or for me, I think it's interesting that meetups are not understood or not recognized. So I guess it's different. You know, maybe in Japan it's the same problem, right? So because at least on the West Coast and East Coast, I think meetup makes sense. It's been around for a long time. But for us, it's really strange that, you know, we have a huge community. You know, for example, the VR community is 3,500, and you know, the government do not care. We try to engage, and they really don't care. Or big companies, they think, yeah, it's just what is it? But if you're you know, an established community, you know, multiple generation community, or whatever, then it's different. So this is one of our challenge to get. It's changing slowly, but you know. And the second thing is really getting in Europe is a general problem is getting people to collaborate more. This is our big challenges.
Yeah, like Tokyo has a kind of same issues to overcome. So in Tokyo, not yet like a meetup kind of culture is very matured yet. So basically, there's some people who is really eager to the specific topic only attends and finds the meetup is actually going on. So basically, what we got to work on is to tell the people there's a meetup about the everything, include ourselves, and then also like that's also for the investors in the perspective of the startup. Like, yet we don't have not much of the investors who cares about the XR field. Well, there is, but not as much as what happening in the Silicon Valleys and then some other places in US. So that's the two issues I would like to overcome, and then also to mention some others. You know, it's kind of similar to what you guys said, but you know, basically the Japanese people are shy, so pretend not to like talk on the stage. So I'd like to make the like psychological hurdles to get on the stage and to share the knowledge. So basically making the like atmosphere to share the knowledge is a good thing and should be welcomed about like no matter how good the knowledge is and how, you know, specific it is. So that's the thing we are about to overcome, yeah.
Thanks, Shota. Okay, that's all the questions I have for you guys. So if anyone has any questions in the audience, we have a few minutes. Yeah?
Bring the mic there. Then I have one too. Please.
Oh, hi. A taboo aside, I was just curious if any of you could speak about the diversity or the development and who might be leading internationally with mixing AR with the adult entertainment industry. If that's, I mean, it's a big industry, although it seems like it's not something people talk about at a convention, but I mean, it is pretty diverse and it's worldwide. So I was wondering if anybody had anything that they could contribute towards that.
LA. It's happening in LA, but I don't know anything about it, so I'm sorry.
Well, since we're on the topic, I I think, well, in San Francisco they had it was big for VR, you know, with the big kink.com was like a big thing in San Francisco, and that was a lot going on there. And then I was actually talking to one of the guys from Vuforia, and I was like, what's the craziest thing that you guys are like, you know, app that you're seeing come out now? And it was AR for sex toys. And so that's not exactly answering your question, but it's penetrating, no pun intended, into all different sectors. So
Wait till we get the Prague chapter, then ask that question again. Giovanni.
Yes. What are the connections between the network of AWE Nites? Do you meet just here, or do you have?
No, that's a great question, and really the strength of this is an incredibly complex industry that combines mapping and computer vision and content and just production and all these disciplines. It's really hard to follow, and it takes a lot of time to become knowledgeable about everything that's happening and keep up on it. But we have people like Tom Emmerich. If you want to know everything that's happening in the industry that matters, just follow his Twitter, and you can just scroll down the list and you see all the announcements and all the cool stuff, and he's really good at surfacing content. Not only that, but we can take presentations that we do. We kick off all of our meetings with a roundup of what's happened since we've met last. So here's what happened this month in AR, and literally we can share all of these resources between all of us, and it takes a lot of time to stay up and do this stuff. And AWE makes it really easy to do that. So as we add chapters around the world, I think that's one of the great strengths is it's going to get easier and easier to spool up communities that are using shared resources or presentations. I took something from Chicago and did a medical presentation without the speaker, but they were okay with doing a remote thing, and sharing resources is the #1 thing that makes it easier to get the level of quality up to smaller markets like mine and others that with just amazing people. And Molly is 100% time on this. I mean, she wrangles all of this stuff and really does an amazing job of tying it together and sharing resources. And we take what works in one place and we do it somewhere else. And right now we're going to give away a Quest. And that'll take our attendance, it'll double our attendance just by giving away a piece of hardware, right? So really works.
Yeah, I'd also like to add that we collaborate around a Slack channel, so that is a way for us to communicate in not real time, but we do hear each other's voices through that.
Hi, Alex Barnett, born and raised in Chicago. You're absolutely right. Beautiful city, June, July, and August.
No arguments there.
I'm a member, actually. I've joined your thing just so I can get the updates. I moved to Las Vegas from Chicago in July of last year, not knowing anybody, not being able to hang out and have normal conversations with normal people. I joined some meetup groups, Unity and AR and VR among them. There's about 400 people strong within the VR group. They've asked me to co-chair. I've been doing so for about 6 months. And Ray from LA, the wonderful Ray Mosca, had asked me if I'd be interested in trying to transition that into an AWE Nite. Obviously the answer is yes. What is the process in addition to just talking to Tom?
That's a question for me. Yeah. So the process would be, getting in touch with me. We'd set up a meeting and talk about what your goals would be for, transferring the meetup over. We would need to know, how much time you have to put into the meetup, how much time to dedicate, to run and organize. And then, we just go from there. We give you tools. They are independently run meetups. I do support budget-wise, and then material-wise, and then also connections. So if you do need help sourcing speakers or sponsors or finding a venue for the meetup, I can step in and assist there. But really, we would let you run the show. And then you'd also be connected to the other organizers via the Slack channel like Ron had mentioned. And then anything you may need, you would just ask us, and then we'd go from there and see what we can do. So it really is just talking to me and Tom and getting it going.
It's great to hear.
That's a good question. And if you are currently running, like we were running a VR meetup with a lot of people, and we transitioned it to something great. So if you are out there and you're watching this on YouTube and you have a group of passionate people that you want to connect to a group that's going to basically take all of the energy around this industry in your field and get this help, then it's a really good opportunity because it's easy to convert a group over. And for passionate people in a great market, it's a good way to start it up and get the folks there. So that's we're expanding, right? We're AWE is going to take over the world with local meetups and yes?
Yeah, right. We were taking a pause up until this conference was over. So now that we're done, Tom and I are going to start looking into adding more chapters to our 10 strong.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just want to say, as someone who's done community organizing for a long time, it really makes a difference to have a international organization of this size behind you and supporting you. It makes a big difference.
Do you have a question, Giovanni?
Oh, yes. No, thank you. You answered my question. I've been struggling for the last 2 years in building a AR, VR community in Italy because, the industry is very fragmented. And I'm sure that Carl was mentioned that Europeans are not so used to meetup, and they always ask me, but what's the business model between this community? There's no business model. It's just spread the word of AWE locally and share the knowledge. So thank you very much for sharing your experience. And
yeah, Giovanni, you're on my list to contact after this is all.
that's really good to
Italy,
hear because
right?
I was about to reach out to you and ask you how to build a chapter in Milan and in Italy. And thank you very much.
All right. Any other questions? If not, one more.
Yeah, hi, this is Patrick O'Shaughnessy, co-organizer of the Chicago chapter. I had a question
Patchreality.com.
I had a question for Molly, and that is, how did you get to be such an awesome organizer of people? Was it your upbringing? Was it your career path? What was it that brought you to this point where you can help all of us make our augmented reality meetups so awesome?
I think I just had to learn to practice patience. Practice patience, yes. Thank you, Patrick.
Oh, thank you. No, really, you do an awesome job.
Thank you. All right, well, thank you everyone for joining us. If you need any information on the On Night series or just have any questions on AWE in general, you can come find me floating around here, or you can also email me. My email is, it's not that simple, but it's simple. It's molly@augmentedreality.org. Again, that's molly@augmentedreality.org, and I look forward to seeing everybody out there. Okay, thank you.